This video is sponsored by my generous supporters on Patreon. Actually, instead of Patreon this month, I wanted to use this space to let you guys in on something big that's happening later this week. I know it's short notice, but if you live in the LA area, you might get the chance to meet me. From August 10th to the 15th, I'm going to be visiting Los Angeles. And while I'm there, I plan on hosting a meetup with a bunch of other Big Time Rush fans. We're still working out the details, but ideally we're going to be meeting at the Kia Forums building on August 11th. If that sounds familiar to any of you, that's because Big Time Rush themselves are going to be performing there later that night. And of course, I'll be attending. I'll probably start heading over there around noonish, but there's no guarantees I'm going to stay there for the whole day. I might choose to step away for some lunch and dinner, but I'll definitely be back in time for the concert. But hey, if you're worried you missed me, my Instagram DMs are always open. And I'll even be checking my message requests regularly the day of the show. And hey, can't make the 11th? I still plan on being in the area for a whole week, so it never hurts to ask if you can tag along while I check out LA for the first time. I might even schedule a second meetup if enough people want it. And well, I guess that's my announcement, so on with the show, I guess. Synopsis. Our boys wake up bright and early in order to perform on
Welcome to AMLA, LA's #1 morning show.
The producer shows them around the studio, but once they get backstage, she's informed that the show is running long, and the guys have received the chopping block. The boys beg to keep their spot in the show, but the producer reveals that she's not as nice as she seems at first glance, saying she doesn't have time for some, quote, stupid boy band.
Vocal group is a term that could also be used.
Wait, is that like a slur to them? Back at Rock Records, Gustavo gives off the same exact vibes as this Ryan George sketch.
It's, well, beautiful morning here in Montreal, and
it's still dark outside.
Yeah, it's dark out. What am I, a liar? This time of day's
Griffin shows up and establishes the B-plot for this episode by pulling another power move and springing a company evaluation on them.
Test number 2. How is Rock Records at giving haircuts?
The boys enact a plan to shave time off the show little by little, and while they are successful with phase 1 of their plan, they end up getting chased off by security. Katie comes to their aid, but makes it very clear that she does not want to get wrapped up in whatever they got going on, and she only wants to focus on beating Castle Crashers. And, I mean, it's a good game, I get it. While the guys continue to cause chaos throughout the film set, Griffin continues to evaluate Gustavo and Kelly, even threatening to give the studio to their tech department. He delivers arbitrary tests that seem to have nothing to do with running a company.
That was a trust fall, Gustavo. And you failed. Again. Because if I can't trust the head of Rock Records, who can I trust?
And while they deal with that back on set, the guys only have to shave off 2 more minutes from the schedule. But the closer they get, the more eyes are on them, leading to Katie needing to get involved again. The boys manage to fully take over the news while Katie has the guards distracted, and it all culminates right around the same time Gustavo and Kelly seem to fail their evaluation. However, after the stunts BTR pulled on the news, stock in not only the music side of the company, but anything that the boys inadvertently promoted, skyrocketed as well. I mean, that's surely illegal, but it gets results as Griffin decides to let Gustavo keep Rock Records, and then the boys do a rockin' performance. Thoughts? Yep, another good episode of Season 2. I just really don't have a lot to say, and it's kind of a shame. Because don't get me wrong, this episode is really enjoyable. There just isn't really much that stands out about it compared to the previous episodes of the season. Okay, I've been alluding to the fact that I'm going to talk about this in the last couple of videos, so let's just get it over with. Ever since returning for Season 2, the show has taken on a bit of a formula. The show has been splitting each episode into A, B, and C plots, which while work for establishing a consistent quality, end up making it more difficult for even good episodes to stand out in the crowd. And that's led to a little bit of trouble and fatigue when making this review series. It's nothing against the episodes. I mean, so far this season has been oops all bangers, but inadvertently, that's kind of where the problem lies. Last season was a real mixed bag, and it was a hell of a roller coaster to go on because of it. First I'd watch a masterpiece, followed by a flop, followed by one that understands the characters to a T, again followed by one that was so out of character that I would get actively annoyed. Sure, some of the episodes may have suffered, but overall, I think it made the good episodes shine that much more. And in solely talking about my reviews, I think the variety is really what led to the series being so enjoyable, at least in my opinion. I actually talked about this with my patron Sherbert, and he agreed. Season 2 fatigue is definitely real. We've grown past the stage where the show is trying to find its footing, but we haven't quite reached the stage where they've jumped the shark yet. And with a whole 30 episodes this season, it feels like it's a problem that's just going to persist. All of that, mixed with the fact that I haven't been able to get these out as often as I promised at the beginning of the season, has led me to the decision to take a break so that I could focus on other projects and then return to the show with the fresh perspective that it deserves. On top of that, before I review any more episodes, I want to take a step back and actually take care of things that I wanted to do before I even started Big Time Month Season 2. You see, when I originally brought it back last year, I wanted to look at Season 1 as a whole, talk about the best and worst it had to offer, as well as see if any of my thoughts have changed since the original review. I also want to use this opportunity to encourage viewer interaction, so if there's anything you want to say about a particular episode, whether I liked it and you didn't or vice versa, this is your chance to have your voice heard. All you have to do is go back to that original review and leave a comment saying whatever you think should be said. And don't worry, if you left a comment when the video originally released, it's already in consideration for discussion. Back to the episode at hand though. I don't think it's a surprise at this point that I really enjoyed it. Some standout elements include Katie's obsession with her game, some really funny visual gags, and a killer ending musical number. This is actually off script, but I actually have a core memory of watching this specific episode with my grandmother, the same one that I dedicated the original Big Time Rush video to, so it's all kind of coming full circle for me. I mean, sure, we've technically already heard Till I Forget About You in a previous episode, but it's still a banger, and playing it twice isn't going to make me sick of it. The only thing really holding this episode back is that it doesn't have an outstanding message to teach like Welcome Back Big Time or Big Time Girlfriends. And by that logic, I think the only score I can really justify giving it is a platinum record. Trivia. The game I jokingly referred to as Castle Crashers, actually called Castle Bashers in the show, just so happens to echo the events in the episode. The biggest example being when Katie says she defeated the evil she-beast right after running over the producer. This is kind of weird to think about, but this is actually the first episode to not feature the Palm Woods whatsoever. And this won't end up happening again until Season 3's premiere, so there you go. Finally, probably the most interesting in my opinion, the credits of AMLA say executive producer Aaron Staudinger, and co-executive producer Sean Costanian, which is a reference to Nickelodeon's own associate producers of the same name, as well as director Brandon Crawford, which is a reference to Nickelodeon's post-production assistant, who worked on a number of shows including Big Time Rush Seasons 1 and 2. I got most of this information from the Big Time Rush fan wiki, specifically the blog Big Time Live. If you want to fact check me, feel free to do so in the comments below, and if it's a big enough slip up on my part, I might even have your comment pinned, assuming I haven't done it to someone else. Once again, I just wanted to give a huge shout out to my generous supporters on Patreon. Especially my top supporter, Sherbert. If you would like a piece of custom art like this, then head on over to patreon.com/JosiahHerring and see which tier would suit you the best.